What do you value in a game? Is it the world building, the progression, or maybe even the grind? For me, it is replayability, which in the case of multiplayer games forms the end game. What keeps me logging in every single day? What is the main goal after completing the story? With about 1,000 hours into Warframe, I have got my fair share of every single aspect the game has to offer. Fashioned the majority of frames to my liking, got a large ribbon collection from good to even near god roll ribbons, and due to the streams on Twitch, can now proudly call myself a Warframe partner. The way I see it, I have achieved everything I can in the game, and am now at a point where, next to collecting my daily Kuva, there is not much left for me to do. Can I complain? Not at all. In my eyes, very little games offer content for that amount of playtime, and kept me wanting to finally finish my day at university to return to my limbo noggle infested orbiter. On the flip side, I wish that there was something more for me to do. Long have we discussed in streams about potential cool features or content updates, and when the very first developer livestream of 2019 aired, I finally got what I wanted. Let's take a look. For me, one of the most straightforward ways to incentivize the player to keep logging in was always daily or weekly challenges. When playing some Destiny on the side, I couldn't help but wonder how cool it would be to have their version of bounties in the Warframe universe. Turns out, that is actually what we're getting. Under the name Wolf of Saturn, Digital Extremes is currently in the process of designing a feature that will provide meaningful content to grind towards. This might sound like a minor change to some, but is easily my most anticipated addition. Next to that, we are also getting some pure content drops. The first ones that come to my mind are obviously the lore expansion The New War and 2019's big boy, Railjack, which, as we now know, weaves into a bigger project called Warframe Empyrean. What Steve named after his favorite song is perhaps the most ambitious project the team has ever taken on. But what can you and I, as a player, expect from it? At this point, it is public that DE plans to rework every single location in the star chart to work in line with Railjack. Yes, every single location. I can only speculate that we may have multiple faction-specific missions for their respective planets, or maybe even certain ship parts tied to them. I don't want to interpret too much into it for now, since I prefer having my mind blown at this year's TennoCon. Looking back at last year's Fortuna expansion, I noticed many new players joining my stream who were eager to dive into the massive universe that Warframe offers. Though how many of those have stayed is still up for debate. It is known that the beginner experience can be crushing for most, while only interesting to some. The usual life cycle of a Warframe player can be mapped as first starting off, finding the game systems too complicated, taking a month-long break until finally coming back and noticing its beauty. Multiple times have I heard that this is the way it's meant to be, painting Warframe as a wiki game. While this is definitely true, it can't hurt to help potential new fans of the franchise with their initial experience. DE obviously took note of this and announced that a full rework of the tutorial area is on their roadmap as well. Keep your eyes open for news if you always wanted to introduce a friend to the game. With now both the veterans and newer players being taken care of, the team can now focus on smaller quality of life updates and start planning the game's future. A few of those changes include a small trading interface and even a difficulty rework that are currently on DE's to-do list. Of course, this would not be a video about potential updates without me mentioning Melee 3.0 at least once. Notoriously being postponed multiple times, it is now being delivered in waves to control the outcome and analyze the community's reception. With the quick Melee change already being finished and waiting for deployment, we are now just moments away from it finally rolling out. In the meantime, DE Steve has already went to Twitter to tease that he is thinking about Damage 3.0. Buried in his New Year's post, that is all we know so far. All of this sounds really promising at this point. Not only does every part get something that they can work towards in 2019, but I can also get behind their approach to content. Smaller back-to-back instead of big but scarce updates. Many of us remember last year's discussion of the community-dubbed content drought that even got acknowledged on one of the dev streams. It seems like every party learned something out of it and is now trying to prevent that from happening again. There are also some topics I haven't even touched on, that they somehow still found space on the roadmap for. Those would include the Plains of Duviri, a brand new tileset and faction for the Tenno to conquer, or the upcoming Gas City rework that might come sooner rather than later, including reworked Corpus tilesets in the same style that we've seen on some of the bases in Orb Vallis, as well as a new game mode. I have no doubt this year will be a banger. Of course, this is but a roadmap and everything is subject to change. However, the idea of how they structured everything gives me the vibe that they know what they're doing and listening to the community's feedback. Thanks for watching.